You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. And be sure to smash that like button. As we were wrapping up the show on Friday, we got the unexpected and very good news that LSU running back John Emery will remain LSU running back John Emery. You all know the story by now of John Emery, and when he went into the portal some time ago, we all sort of put a bow on what we thought was the end of John Emery's time in Baton Rouge. And it was interesting because John Emery even tweeted his picture of his official visit to UCLA. There was a report from Matt Zenitz that Emery was likely to end up at UCLA in the transfer portal, but in turn, John now will come back to LSU. I have some thoughts on why that may come about, but first things first, I am a John Emery fan. Okay, and I'm not necessarily just talking about John Emery, the football player. I'm talking about everything that John Emery has been through. We are currently existing in the most transformative era in the history of college athletics. That is not even debatable. With transfer portal and NIL, there has never been a time even remotely resembling this. And when it has never been easier for players to be self-centered, self-focused, to leave at the first sign of trouble, to leave for the highest bidder, whatever the case may be, John Emery stayed time and time again and persevered time and time again. And by the way, you know how I feel. Guy wants to leave for greener pastures, go. You got an opportunity to go get money? God bless you, get your bag. I have no problem with it. Y'all know I am very pro-portal. I am pro-NIL, the most extreme pro of those things you can imagine. It doesn't mean that you can admire someone who perseveres. And John Emery has done that. He was the 11th ranked player in the country coming out of high school, played on the national championship team, had the COVID year, missed all of 2021 due to academics. At that point, he was 3 years out of high school. John Emery at that point could have gone to the NFL, or he could have transferred or done anything he wanted. Came back in 2022 at Brian Kelly. Earned his way out there, even despite missing the beginning of the season due to academics again, and then could have left after 2022, came back for 2023. Missed for academics again at the beginning of the season. Ultimately, tears his ACL in November, sticks around and graduates. Y'all realize? John Emery graduated last month. School ain't for everybody. School's hard for a lot of people. And John Emery could have walked away many, many times. But that dude walked across the stage and he's got my respect. And he could have gone somewhere else where there'd been better shot of playing time, but LSU got him back here and he has my respect for that as well. And I hope it works out. So that's the first part of it. By the way, and I know we went through this when John Emery left, but the only reason he still has eligibility, because that 2021 season he missed due to academics, that's not a redshirt year. You lose that year of eligibility. So John Emery's technically out of eligibility. He was able to appeal to get the year back because he graduated. That's why he has a sixth year now. So he has my respect for that. Specifically on the field, you need running back depth. Remember, Noah Cain, Logan Diggs, Trey Bradford, they're all gone. You had two scholarship running backs in spring, two. You had Caleb Jackson and Josh Williams. That's it. Those are the two running backs you had available, scholarship running backs you had available in spring. Now you've got freshman Caden Durham arriving here for the summer and for the fall. That gives you three. Now we have all anticipated that Trey Holly was going to be able to return. Now, I want to remind you of this. Brian Kelly, this was on April the 8th. Brian Kelly on April the 8th gave an update on the Trey Holly situation. Again, this was a little more than 2 months ago that Brian Kelly said this.
We advocated for him to continue his schooling, and we were happy that he was able to continue his schooling here as an online student. So he's maintained his eligibility because of that. So we'll be, obviously monitoring and making sure that, I think they're talking about, sometime in the middle of April that we could see a full resolution to this. At that time, we'll begin the process in assisting him for reinstatement, and we'll advocate for him on his behalf and welcome him back.
Okay, that was on April the 8th when Brian Kelly said we're expecting full resolution middle of April. All right, this was Trey Holly. Now, this slipped through the cracks a couple of weeks ago, and forgive me for that, but this was a report from KNOE in North Louisiana that the judge in this trial of Trey Holly stepped down, recused himself in this trial, and a new judge was appointed. And in this report from KNOE, they very clearly state that the expectation is that the trial will happen in the first or middle part of 2025, meaning Trey Holly, who's, remember, had the attempted murder charge dismissed, but he's still being charged on a weapons charge. Well, if he's not eligible to play until this trial comes to conclusion, they're saying there won't be a trial. This report is there won't be a trial until earlier mid-2025, meaning Trey Holly could miss the whole season, which is maybe one of the reasons why there was an appeal to bring John Emery back to Baton Rouge. I don't know all of that, and when Brian Kelly speaks with the media at Next, we'll certainly see if there's any update there. But that certainly would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? If all of a sudden something's happened and you feel like you're not going to have Trey Holly available, and so you were going to go into the season with Caleb Jackson, Caden Durham, and Josh Williams, yeah, it helps to have somebody. I want to remind you this. I think everybody, when another running back pops up in this conversation, I think the tendency is for people to think, man, I just really want to see what Caleb Jackson would look like with 200 carries on the season. And my opinion is you're going to see that this year. And Logan Diggs was your leading rusher among running backs. He tore his ACL. He's now at Ole Miss. Jaden Daniels led the SEC in rushing, and he's now in the NFL. So, and Garrett Nussmeier had one rushing attempt last year. One. So you need somebody to replace those carries, and Caleb Jackson and Josh Williams are likely going to be your 1-2 punch to get the lion's share of them. But experienced depth is never a bad thing. So you get a guy that's going to be going into his 6th year of college who has elite athletic game-breaking ability, and maybe John Emery gets 5 to 7 touches a game, a few carries, a couple of receptions. Like maybe that's it, and that's where he maxes out as far as his contribution of this year's team. Or maybe there's injuries and problems happen. You need to lean more heavily on John Emery. But I'll never look at experienced depth and say that's a bad thing. It's a great thing that LSU's got John Emery back in the fold for a 6th season at a position where, yes, they're thin and there's still uncertainty because of what's happening with Trey Holly. So welcome back to John Emery back in the fold with LSU. The next question really is, how healthy is he from the torn ACL? When will he be 100% ready to contribute? But we'll get those answers as we move along. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.